Season 2, Episode 1 with Chuck Smith talking about Polyglot Berlin and Duolingo.
This is the Actual Fluency Podcast, helping you become a better language learner by providing motivating weekly inspiration, as well as top tips and tricks from expert guests. And now, your host, Chris Broholm.
Hello and welcome everyone to another season of the Actual Fluency Podcast, and how exciting it is to be back and finally present to you the new season of the podcast. Before we begin digging into the interview with Chuck Smith, where we talk about Duolingo and also the Polyglot Berlin Gathering, I just wanted to say a big thank you to everyone who supported me in the last 2 months in the break of the podcast, and particularly those who supported the crowdfund, the fundraiser I was doing for season 2. And with your help, I have upgraded the equipment, which should really, in season 2, create much better quality recordings. And I really hope you enjoy it. I also want to thank people who send me messages of encouragement, and I really appreciate every single message. And if you have a message for me, it could be criticism, it can be praise. I always like to hear any of those too. Or just a general question, you're more than welcome to send me an email on actualfluency.com. There's a little send me a message link at the top menu. But for today, I just wanted to say thank you. So here it is. This is season 2. We're back. And I'm so excited to be back because, having this kind of division with season 1 and 2 really allows me to kind of refocus and restructure. And I've changed a lot of the ways that things happen behind the scenes as well. So I'm excited to show you that kind of what I believe will be a better quality on average. And I just wanted to briefly mention another point. After the fundraiser, I decided to open up a VIP section of the website. And basically what it is just for people who want a little bit more out of actual fluency. So for a very small amount, you can become a member and you get invited to a membership area where there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff going on with the podcast. So it could be something like outtakes where I screw up, or it could be something like deleted episodes. It could be bonus features, and particularly bonus features is something that I'm really happy to provide because, some people asked me during the fundraiser once it was over, they were like, oh, I missed the fundraiser, is there any way I can, still support the show? And you know what? You support the show just by listening, just as long as you come along. That's really all I'm here for. It's not about money or compensation or anything. I would do this even if it cost me 10 times what it costs me now. It's not about that. It's about sharing the information and getting the word out there. And really all the messages that I get from people saying, oh, your podcast helped me so much and I really have progressed a lot more thanks to you. I mean, those messages really mean the world to me, and they mean way more than any kind of financial compensation could ever make. So in that sense, I'm not too fussed about it. But, I realized that some people do want to show the support, and I figured, what could I give in return? Because I really don't want to just do a sort of a donation button. Not a big fan of that anyway, but I wanted to give you something back. And what I'm doing is, not only do you get access to the forum, you get the behind-the-scenes stuff, the sort of exclusive content that hasn't been released anywhere. You also get direct downloads of the MP3 files, and furthermore, I'm doing this cool thing where I put up the guest who's going to come on the show ahead of time, and it gives you the opportunity to ask questions. And I will ask those questions at the end of the recording sessions, and those questions and answers will then be an exclusive for the VIPs. It still means that the general interview and everything will still be 100% available for free, but it's just for those people who want to give a little bit back to the actual fluency, support the development, and also show their support and join a language community, because we've got a nice forum there and we've already started to put some posts in there. And I really believe that the best way to learn languages is through community, and I hope that we can foster a really cool community in there. So if you're interested in the VIP membership, check it out, actualfluency.com/VIP. And that's about it. So I hope you enjoy this first episode of season 2. I'm so stoked to be back. And if you have any questions, feedback, or comments, please do use that feedback form to send me a message link, because I love to hear from you guys, and you're the reason I do this. So thank you for your patience in the last month where there hasn't been an episode, And welcome back. And now we're going to have an episode every Friday, 8 p.m., just like good old times. And, I have Chuck Smith on today, and I hope you enjoy the interview. With me today, I have my good friend Chuck Smith. And if you remember, Chuck, from the last season, we talked a lot about Esperanto and Con languages, and also the Polyglot Gathering in Berlin from last year. And if you have any interest in those topics, I suggest you go back and listen to that episode once again. Today, we're not going to talk about Esperanto, but we are going to talk about the next edition of the Polyglot Gathering in Berlin. And we're also going to talk about another little hobby of Chuck's, and that has been to contribute to the Duolingo Esperanto program. So I suppose in a way we're coming full circle. But anyway, Chuck, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are you
Good
doing
to be
today?
here. I'm doing well. And yourself?
Fantastic. I couldn't be better, actually. Recovering from a cold, and that's always a good feeling when you feel it's on the way out. But before we move any further, can you just let us know what's been going on since last time, and how are you looking forward to the next Polyglot Gathering?
So it's exciting. The Polyglot Gathering is coming up on May 1st through the 4th. And what's the exciting part about it right now is that we're trying to raise funds to hire a professional film team to come from a film school in Berlin to shoot all the lectures. So, I mean, if you watch the coverage from last year, you can notice that the slides can be quite difficult to read at times. And so we want to really make sure everything's clear and crisp, and also we want to raise the sound quality a lot as well.
Right. Yeah, I've seen the contribution, and I've also added a bit of my own, and I can fully recommend people do it, because what I've heard from people last year who were not at the gathering, they've seen some of these videos on YouTube of some of the talks, and while they have been enjoyable to watch, and as far as quality goes, they are watchable, but it is a small flip cam in the corner of the lecturing hall. It's not exactly high quality, but if you get this team in, you're going to get amazing quality talks for, you can watch them over and over again. You can watch it after, and if you can't make it to the gathering itself, that's a perfect opportunity. So do you want to give people the address right off the bat so they don't forget it?
It's best to just go to indiegogo.com and then search for Polyglot Gathering.
Perfect.
Would be the easiest way to find it.
And there are some bonuses there for people to, if they contribute, they get some language learning materials and products, so I can fully recommend that.
Absolutely. We've got amazing deals from Transparent Language, from Benny Lewis, the Fluent in 3 Months, and Pod 101.
Fantastic. Yeah, so I totally recommend people go there, and if you didn't get that link, I'll put it in the show notes as well, so people can check that out for later easy review. But let's talk about the gathering itself. We reflected on it earlier in the year, but what would be different this year compared to the one last year?
Well, this year we have more space. Well, also there are more people there. So last year we had a little over 200 people, and this year we'll have 320 people. And we had one very large room last year, and this year we'll have 2 very large rooms. So we'll be able to fit a lot more people in to watch even more content than we had last year. So another thing that's exciting with the filming is that with the 3 parallel sessions going on at the same time, even if you're attending, you can't see everything. Mm-hmm. So it's a way to also see the stuff in the other room that you missed.
Right. And I'll just say that I was there, and I was living at the place where it was taking place. And even then, I still missed about, I would say, more than half of the talks. One, because there were some talks going on at once, but also because you're just socializing. You're caught up at lunch, or you meet some really interesting people. You talk in a language you might not be, have tons of opportunities to practice, and suddenly the time is just flying away. So having all the videos for later would be a huge benefit for everyone, I believe.
Yes, and we even have an extra room this year that we hope to just set aside for just people to chat there. So you don't have to just sit in the foyer outside the main hall.
It was nice, though.
Yeah, we'd like to have more space for just people to get to know each other.
Right.
Because one thing I think is I like at a lot of I find at a lot of conferences the most value you even get is from just the coffee breaks or just breaks in between talks. So I want to really help people connect on that level as well.
Yeah, that's what I can totally echo that, and I think the gathering was one of the best examples because people were just socializing all the time, and even if in the bar or in the lunchroom or in the foyer, as you were saying, and some people even went out, and that was really the strength of the gathering, and I think that's the biggest benefit of such a conference is that you allow so much social time. Whereas, other conferences might be more packed in terms of talks. I know for a fact that the Polyglot conference is only 2 days, and it's basically full of talks. So there's very limited time for socializing. But you've got that covered in Berlin.
Yeah, one thing I'm really excited about this year too is that we're getting Yomo to come and perform for us, and he will be singing in 25 languages in this concert.
Wow,
So
that's pretty incredible.
he used to have the Guinness Book of World Records for most languages sung at a concert.
That's really apt, right, for the occasion.
That's what we thought as well.
It's fantastic, and we'll see the return of all the popular events, and the tea room and the crocodile alligator and there'll be nothing taken out. I hope.
That's right. And we also have the book fair this year, where
Right.
people can sell say they've written a book, they could sell their book, and if they don't need the table to be branded, we even provide that space for indies for free.
And that's perfect, I think, because a lot of time people who've written these language learning books, it's not a huge market. If you're just writing about, I don't know, Korean vowels or something, that's pretty niche. And if you
Right.
self-published it or something, having that kind of a space, I think, is a good initiative, and it can. I suspect there'll be a nice sort of talk in that room as well. Where, oh, did you read that? What did you think? And not just for the authors, but also for the people who enjoy to read about the literature and the languages.
Right, and our program is looking stellar this year as well. It's the different tracks of learning languages and linguistics, life as a polyglot, practical language courses and workshops, and the evening program, which I've already talked a bit about.
Right. And
So it's and that's all on polyglotberlin.com. Just click on the program. You can see.
register soon, right? Because there's there weren't that many seats left last time I checked.
We're closing it very soon. I'm not sure if we'll even have seats available when you publish this.
Oh no!
Oh.
I better publish this quickly then.
Yes.
No, but seriously, people, if you have the opportunity, I highly recommend it. And when I went last year, I haven't denied the fact that it was a truly life-changing experience. Just because you're among so many great learners, and it's so inspirational to see and talk to people who've just learned so many languages, and so many of them are so humble beings as well. And it really it gives meaning to all these hours that we put in at the desk. So. And I just gotta say as well, really congratulate you on the job that you did last year and are
Thank you.
doing this year as well. It's really a lot of work. We know that, and the fact that you're keeping the conference fees so reasonable allows more people to participate, and that makes it all worth it, and it's a great effort. So I want to congratulate you on what can only be an epic event in language learning.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm looking at the participants list now, and I see we have 322 participants from 50 countries.
Right, and you said you had 320 spaces.
Yes, but we do have a waiting list. So
Right,
people
and
can sign up for the waiting list.
are those 322 confirmed, or are they just registered and awaiting payment?
They're registered and awaiting payment.
Right, so
Well,
some of them
some are
might-
confirmed, obviously, but
Right, some of them might have might not participate anyway.
right. And always at the last minute, people will drop out too. It's just
All right,
other personal concerns or things like that.
of course. But anyway, people go to polyglotberlin.com and register immediately, actually. And it's a funny story. I mentioned this last year as well, but you did the registration for the first one kind of in a close group first. It was like you were kind of spreading it out from the inside. And then after, I don't know, 50, 100 people had signed up, or maybe even more, you send it out to the rest of the world to see. And I didn't know anyone in the circle at that time. So when I saw the Facebook post, I was like, whoa, what is this? And I just signed up immediately. I remember I didn't even check my calendar. I didn't even check my bank account. I just said, I want to join this. and I just
That's
registered.
great.
And like 3 days later, it was sold out. So it was important, and I think the people who've been there can definitely confirm that that's it's such an amazing experience that if you have the chance, and I think some people listening to this will have the chance, go take that chance because it's really fascinating.
And obviously, if you don't have the chance, then if you support our Indiegogo campaign, then you can watch all the videos online for free. Well,
Right.
supporting our campaign would be useful.
Yeah, exactly. And you get a lot out of supporting, and also the fact that you know it's a lot of diverse topics. I really, like you said before, I really enjoyed that there's so many different topics and there's something for everyone.
Right, exactly.
So, but Chuck, not everything is perfect in Polyglot Berlin. What about the Wi-Fi? Because I have to ask you this.
We have some backup options that we have planned, but the like getting the high-speed Wi-Fi didn't go as smoothly as we hoped it would.
Right.
I can say that. But yeah, we have some options to at least make sure that speakers will have good Wi-Fi when they're giving presentations.
Right. That's the
But
most
yeah,
important thing.
unfortunately, I can't make any. I've done my best. The whole team has tried many different routes. It's kind of funny watching the incredibly weird concoctions of possible internet that I've seen.
Right.
Because we have Andy on board this year. He's provided or he's helped provide internet for many Esperanto events around Europe, and so he's very capable of just whatever is available to make it as available as possible.
Fantastic.
So
And
we're in very good hands.
I'm only half joking, of course, because when you come to a conference like that and you have so many great opportunities to talk to people and hang out and socialize, there really isn't that much time for Wi-Fi. It was just because it's a bit of an inside joke, but the Wi-Fi was so bad that nobody could even check email. So I had to ask you, and I know that you're doing everything you can to improve it for the next time around.
Right, and we also take it as quite a great compliment when the biggest complaint is about our Wi-Fi,
Right.
because that's something we were just told by the hostel they would take care of it, and we said okay.
Right. And never trust a hostel, I guess is the lesson.
Oh, there's many challenges from Wi-Fi. There's some whole essays online about conference Wi-Fi and just how incredibly challenging it is.
Right.
Between dealing with the location that's providing it and the technical issues that go along with providing, say, internet for 300 people.
Yeah, of course. I mean, 300 people on any internet would be stressful, particularly
Right.
if it's not set up in a. I mean, it has to be some kind of fiber solution, and there has to be a lot of access points as well. Otherwise, you won't get Wi-Fi in the lobby or in the rooms, and so just being able to check that email, I think is fine. But in any case, if I have to take a week off the internet, I wouldn't complain because it's still totally worth it.
But having said all that, we're very happy with the location because we chose this location because it's a hotel/hostel.
Right.
So basically, if someone is a student, they can stay in a room with 8 beds and really cheaply. And I think it's 18 euros a night, if I'm not mistaken. And if someone wants a bit more, then they can get a single room for themselves, or even So, and I mean, if they really want something better, they can find a 4-star hotel in Berlin, and it's Berlin after all.
Yeah, I think it's a lovely location also because it provides these social areas like the bar, for instance. I think is brilliant.
Yeah.
Rooftop bar, can't be too loud up there, of course, because there's residents around. But it's a great venue, and there's some table football and other enjoyable things like karaoke, which was interesting.
Yeah. And I think our second biggest complaint was that it was too hot, so we moved it from June to May.
Right. It's going to make a big difference.
But we said these are great complaints to get.
It really is, and it was fantastic weather though. You have to.
Yeah, it was very nice.
I don't know if that's luck or bad luck, but it was definitely fantastic weather all throughout, and a great event. But
summers are usually very nice.
Yeah, I think so. And it also gives you an opportunity to go out in the evening without wearing 20 coats or But yeah, it's a great event, and I think we've covered sort of the good aspects of the event, and I can only hope that people show up. I know that some people are a little bit nervous about showing up at these events. Do you have any comments for people that way? Of course, I've done my best to try and dispel these myths about being nervous in front of a conference. But do you have any comments for that?
I think a lot of people have noticed that you can really just go up and start talking with people. I mean, look at the badge and see what languages you have in common. You already have something there. And you'll find that people are very friendly and receptive to new people. So, and I mean, if you want more views from more participants, on our website at polyglotberlin.com, you can also see a 5-minute trailer just in generally about the event from different points of view of different participants.
Right, and in general, don't be nervous because we all we all have similar minds in this, and people are just so open and welcome, like you say. It's amazing. Like I was just coming there with I just only found out about language learning, and I came there with my 2.5 languages or whatever, and I'd never ever felt like I was being judged or anything. People were so open and supportive of whatever I was doing or saying. So.
I mean, we have people come there speaking 2 languages. We have people coming there speaking 35 languages. So
right,
everything in between.
Yeah, I guess some people think when you call it like a polyglot conference, or sorry, polyglot gathering, some people instantly assume that, oh, how many languages do I need to be able to join? But I guess it's a polyglot mindset gathering in a way, where it's not about the number. It's certainly not about the number,
right?
But it's more about how you think about the whole process, about learning languages, culture, and just having an open mind. And I think most people have that. To be fair, it's a great community.
Yeah. So on average, people speak 5.5 languages there, according to the statistics. But I mean, if you only speak a couple of languages, that's perfectly fine too, as long as you're interested in languages. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, for the motivation or inspiration, I think it's huge.
Absolutely, because I mean, I attended the Polyglot conference in Budapest, and at that time I had 3 rusty languages, and I've shined them up a little bit by now. So just from meeting such amazing polyglots.
Yeah, and it gives you a goal.
Inspiration.
It gives you a goal as well. If you're looking towards the Polyglot Gathering, you might be saying, well, it's a good opportunity for me to practice my Icelandic or Somali or whatever people are working on these days. So I can definitely recommend it.
So I hope I can get my Polish up by then, but I don't know.
Go for it.
Coming up quickly.
I'll be working on my Russian and Esperanto in time for the event, because last time there were a lot of Esperanto speakers, and they were very nice people. So I was a bit disappointed in myself that I didn't speak Esperanto, because there were so many nice Esperanto speakers. Obviously, they embraced me with open arms in English, but now that I somewhat speak it, it's going to be interesting to go back and I guess join in.
Right, it's actually funny because the Polyglot Gathering is based on Esperanto youth conferences, so I guess for a lot of Esperanto speakers there, it already feels very familiar.
Right, for them it's the 20th gathering and not the 2nd.
Right.
That's fantastic. Anyway, Chuck, I think we've covered the Polyglot Gathering, and I'm really looking forward to it. And if people are interested in signing up, be quick, polyglotberlin.com, and then look at the crowdfund on Indiegogo. Just search for Polyglot Gathering, and you can get early access to the videos for as little as €10, I believe.
That's right.
And there are also some other nice bonuses from trusted and knowledgeable language learning companies and personalities. So
yeah, I also want to thank those companies for being so generous with their offerings. And these deals are just much lower than you can get from them directly.
That's perfect. I love that, the kind of the community can work together in that way. It's a lovely feeling. But anyway, the second topic of our agenda today is something we've been talking about for a while, and that is the Duolingo. And the reason that I'm talking to you today about this is that you are the main person behind the up-and-coming Duolingo Esperanto course. And
That's right.
Of course, we talked about Esperanto last time, but this time, let's talk about the Duolingo process? You know, how did you actually get in touch with the Duolingo guys? Did they come to you and say, "Hey, we need an Esperanto course," or did people actually say to them, "You really need to make an Esperanto course. Can you find someone to do it?"
It was a little of both. I mean, even when Duolingo was in its early stages, like when Duolingo was beta, they were. I mean, I even contacted them directly and said, "Are you looking at Esperanto?" And they said, "It's on the roadmap." So they even said that, but I could tell it wasn't a priority. But I mean, that's perfectly understandable when you're working with the major languages at first. Yeah. So, but one thing that Louis van Aan said, as he's the founder of and CEO of Duolingo, was that even from the beginning, the most requested language on the platform was always Esperanto.
Wow.
Which is quite amazing. And it's funny, at the time he snickered a bit when he said it, but he's come around since then. That he came into our chat room one day and said he's really looking forward to learning it when it comes out. So I'm really excited about that. To answer your question about how it started was, well, they have these surveys that go out on which language do you want to learn, and 1 month the survey, the Esperanto was on top of the most wanted to learn language. I think Esperanto and Swedish were the top two.
Wow.
And so I think that finally convinced them to launch the Esperanto course. And ever since the beginning of the incubator is the system where people can develop the courses for Duolingo. Ever since the beginning of that, they've always had an ability to apply to create these courses. So in very early stages, I also filled out the application, why I think I'm capable for the job and things like that.
Right.
So,
All right, that's cool. I can't believe that Esperanto, you know, as big as a movement as it is, could not only be the most requested, but also like win a survey. That seems it seems incredible. But obviously that just shows you the demand for it, and you've been
yeah.
working hard at it for a while now. When did you start working on the Esperanto course?
I think that was in October or November. Not sure. One of those months.
Right, and you now, can I say you're getting close to a beta release, or is it still a little bit out?
Yeah, right now we're at 89% complete, which is really exciting.
Right.
And I saw just this morning we had our 15,000th sign up to be notified when the course goes live.
Wow.
It was also really exciting.
Yeah, that's a lot of people sitting there waiting for you to get in gears.
Right. Yeah. One other thing I wanted to mention is about the demand for the Esperanto course. I think a lot of the demand comes from the fact that most traditional language companies don't have an Esperanto course.
Right.
So they look at the market probably by number of speakers, and they say, yeah, we don't think the market's large enough. But the trouble is when most of the companies are saying that, then that creates a market.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's no really good place to learn it. So then there's huge demand goes up for it. So
yeah, that makes sense. And there's no like Michel Thomas Esperanto, Pimsleur Esperanto.
right.
So obviously, if I guess Duolingo also realizes this, and that's why they prioritize it over so many other languages. Is that the demand is there, but there's no real supply in a way. You know, there's nobody supplying it except for I guess LearnU and a few select other places.
Right. And I mean, you also got, let's see, well, I think it's also just to build goodwill in the community as well. I mean, if you have their community and so many people requesting Esperanto, then it's nice to give back to the community and give them what they're requesting too.
Sure. Exactly. So, can you tell us about the technical process of creating an Esperanto course? Well, I guess a Duolingo course. When you sit down and you log into the back end and you see all the materials, are the materials generated, or is it has it been converted from another course, or how does it actually create the content?
Okay, so first of all, you have complete freedom and flexibility about the course. So you can basically move any skills around wherever you need them. And so when we started, it was actually funny because they gave us a Spanish tree, as sort of a template,
Mm-hmm.
and we said that Spanish probably isn't the closest language to to Esperanto. So they actually then ended up giving us an English tree, and then we just worked from there, like just a standard English template from learning from English.
Right.
So we've been using that, and I mean, you have things where, like, well, for one thing, is the verbs, for example, in other languages you definitely need your past tense, maybe your past verbs too, and things like that, or maybe different kinds of past tense. Whereas Esperanto is so easy, we even threw past and future in the same lesson because it's just so simple.
Yeah, exactly.
Is is past and os is future. So.
Right.
So things like that. But then you've got things like da and de, which is like two ways of saying of. It's like if you say glaso de vino, that means a wine glass, whereas you say glaso da vino, it means a glass of wine.
Right.
So we have a lesson pretty early about that. So we found it's really nice to give us the flexibility we need to build the skill tree the way we want it. So when you're actually creating the course, you'll see you've got different lessons within a skill, and then each lesson can be 2 to 9 words, and each you put in the words you want to teach. At the beginning, you're pretty much just translating the words they recommend, because in pretty much every language the same words are
Right.
the common ones: me, you, they. Boy, man, woman, yeah. So, and is, of course. So then you take, then for each word, you need to have 3 examples. So you write a sentence including that word, and then you'll write all possible, so I'll write an Esperanto sentence, and then I'll write all the possible translations into English of it that I can think of.
Right.
And then from the best English translation, then I write all the best reverse translations to Esperanto from there.
Right.
So you learn both directions.
It's a lot of work.
Yes.
For one word or one lesson, one example.
Right, but you need to repeat the vocabulary, and preferably in the context of what it would be used in. Right. So that's why there's always 3 words. Ideally, we'd have more than 3 sentences for every word. But sometimes we do. It just depends on. Well, obviously, the word estas has a lot of examples.
Right. I can see.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. And then it goes into, once you've reached this critical mass, it goes into beta.
Right.
When it goes into beta, does that mean that enough of it's finished to where you can throw it out, or is it that you finished all of it and then going after beta is just fine-tuning and adding more sort of horizontally?
Right. So it's the second. So we released the course finished. We actually want to add extra part onto the tree. So we actually we trimmed the tree down to like a more like just the main part we want to teach, not the incredibly advanced stuff, because people were just so clamoring to get on this course so quickly. And we can add the rest of the tree later. But with beta, we're basically saying this is a complete course. But the problem is, like I told you, we're trying to think of all the possible, say, English translations from an Esperanto sentence. Mm-hmm. But we're obviously not going to be able to think of everything someone could possibly enter.
Right. And
so that's sort of what the beta phase is for people to go and like enter sentences, and occasionally they'll get a sentence that's they'll write it's valid sentence, but we didn't think of that possibility, especially with Esperanto being so flexible. I mean, one problem I'm seeing is that, for example, with adjective orders, adjectives can come before the noun or after, but you typically put them before. But if someone puts it after, it's still a valid, correct sentence.
Right.
And even if you have a very simple sentence like mi havas hundon, I have a dog, all of those words can actually be put in any order. So you could say havas mi hundon, or hundon havas mi, because mm-hmm. That end marker on hundo makes it the object of the sentence. And so just with that very simple sentence, you've got 6 possibilities already. And there's no way we're going through the course and putting every possibility for every sentence on there. So we're putting the most natural translations on there, and then we figure if people write different translations, then they can send a report, and then we can add them later.
Right.
To see what people actually do want to see, how people do want to translate sentences.
Yeah, I've actually done I was testing out Duolingo for a while, and I was doing the Danish course, and I
Hmm.
was just trying to test out of it, and I don't know if it's ironic or not, but I couldn't test out of everything, because it has its quirks, the Duolingo, and
Right.
if you hit a typo, or if you, I mean, I have fat fingers, so sometimes I hit the enter button without putting the last letter in, and so on and so forth. And I had a few sentences where I suggested alternate translations, and they were accepted as well. Sometimes after a long time, but
Hmm.
eventually they were accepted. So I can. It's a bit like, I suppose, in a way, you sort of crowdsourcing the course
Right.
from, you building the skeleton, the basic course, but then everyone is sort of giving feedback in a very controlled way, so you can add those correct answers.
Right. I mean, that's the idea behind the beta public test is that you have lots of testers who will give you feedback to help you improve the course or the product or whatever it is that you're testing.
Right. And I suppose we should talk a little bit about, Duolingo in general, because it's been under a bit of criticism,
Hmm.
for I've seen it for a long time, and recently as well. And I just wanted to know, what do you think about the sort of, the concept? And I suppose the most criticized aspect is it has machine pronunciation, so it's a
Uh-huh.
synthesized voice. And the other complaint that I often see is that the sentences are so weird. Like, you sent me something about a bear. I don't know. The bear
Like your bear drinks
drinks.
beer.
Yeah. And I was like, what do you think about these points of criticism?
Well, I think with I'll start with the sentences first. I mean, I think a lot of the funny sentences are there just to keep people laughing, just to keep people going with the course.
Right.
So it's not just like your boring textbook, class in high school, but you can just laugh about things and translate lots of sentences in Dutch about ducks, for example. Like every course has a bit of its own quirks. I mean, especially with the Esperanto course, we're really trying to make the sentences as useful as possible. So we're trying to avoid having too many of those funny sentences, but we also want to throw in a funny sentence from now and then. So I know I have someone testing the course right now, like before it's going into beta even, so we can just initial out. I mean, scratch over those initial bugs. And I think what was the sentence that she had trouble with was, oh yeah, the coffee goes. Oh no, the cafe is in a bad park. Just like, okay. But it's also funny in the very early lessons. You also have the problem that you have very few words you can use, because you may be work. I mean, the very first lesson you can use an entire vocabulary of 7 words.
Right.
So, so you have to be saying things. I am a man. I am the man.
Right.
You are the woman.
Right. I can
Things
see
like that.
that's a bit of a constraint as well.
Yeah, but it also makes things manageable for the student. That like the person testing the course, she wasn't having any trouble with just advancing through, and just like it looked pretty easy for her. So I
Right.
was a bit happy about that.
Yeah, I
But
find
some
it interesting, definitely.
Yeah, so she found some weird things that I wasn't expecting. So, but there's also stuff that I have a whole page of notes, and I'm going back over and fixing that stuff in the course. So hopefully the people listening to this won't actually have to deal with that.
Right. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, and actually, how many are you, contributing to the actual, sentences?
So right now we're 5 people,
Right.
and we're all. I mean, Ruth has basically taken on herself the task of sort of being the overviewer of the entire course itself, whereas I'm more like the general project manager, I guess you would say, with like also taking care of just contact with Duolingo and contact with the press right now, for example.
Right.
So yeah, it's pretty exciting. And yeah, one guy, Detlef from Canada, actually came in to proofread the entire course. That was quite a
Oh,
undertaking as well.
I can
It's,
imagine.
so we didn't want to get to the last day and say, "Oh, we should proofread this thing too."
That's a mammoth task.
Right. So he finished it when we were about 2/3 done creating the course, and so yeah, and then he started writing sentences as well. So that's pretty exciting.
That's cool. That's cool. What do you think about the other points of criticism that? Well, I guess
Oh,
it.
the text to speech.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So from what I understand, it's using, I guess you should say robotic. That's not really a nice word for it, but synthetic text to speech because it would be way too expensive for Duolingo to actually. It's not the actual recording. It's the bandwidth of sending those files every time to send it
Right.
from Duolingo servers. Whereas if another service provides that, it's a whole lot cheaper.
And I guess it's also a problem when you're using it on the go if you're on the phone and some people have limited data plans.
Right.
If you have to get, I know it's not the biggest files in the world, but there's a big difference between a text to speech and then raw MP3 files or whatever.
Absolutely.
Well, that's a good argument. Good argument.
So we're working on the text to speech for Esperanto now and looking at it, and we found it's really, really close to Polish, which is amusing. So we've been playing around with changing Esperanto letters to Polish letters and stuff, and just to see.
That's interesting. Does that mean that Polish Esperanto speakers have the more natural accent of Esperanto, or what would you say?
I've heard that Croatian speakers tend to have the best accent.
Right. Well, how's that judged? Is it like, how do they know if there's no home of the?
Right. It's actually interesting because when the first Universale Congreso happened in 1905, people met from all over Europe speaking Esperanto, and they found at the end of the week they'd actually all developed this sort of neutral accent.
Wow.
So you can imagine this. You've got Hungarians speaking with Frenchmen, speaking with Englishmen, speaking with Russians, and
yeah, I can't really imagine that, but it sounds like a nice story anyway.
Right. Yeah, I think so. It's 650 people that first meeting. I can't imagine the excitement in the air in France to.
Yeah, it's so strange, and it's the 100th this year.
The 100th Universal Congress, that's right.
In Lille.
In Lille, France. Exactly.
Yes, exactly. So if people are interested in a somewhat formal conference, I've heard it described as, then you should go to Lille.
Yeah, I've heard they've already got 2,000 sign-ups, and it's still 3-4 months before it, I think, 3 or 4 months before it happens.
So it could be the biggest one yet.
It could be, although I think the one in Warsaw, the 100-year anniversary would probably be the biggest. That was just short of 6,000 participants.
Right, yeah, that's a lot of Esperanto speakers at one place.
And if there's anyone young out there listening, for young in Esperanto that means like 30 and under. But even if you're a little over 30, that's fine too. Or even if you're a lot older, it's okay. There's the International Youth Congress in Wiesbaden in Germany this year.
Right, is that at the end of the year?
It's in July.
Oh, okay. So it's during summer.
Yeah.
Perfect. Can I just ask you about the Duolingo? Because, and I think I asked you this in private once, but why are you doing it? Because, it seems like it's a really, really lot of work. And I know that contributors on Duolingo don't receive a salary.
Right.
So why did you say yes to it?
I mean, I think it's the same reason why I founded Wikipedia also, in 2001 in Esperanto. Just saw this amazing potential for this, and even though I'm not getting paid for it, I really wanted to help. Well, in the case of Wikipedia, I wanted to help people be able to build a knowledge. Well, we all know Wikipedia, I think, but to build a knowledge base, an encyclopedia. And actually for Esperanto that was even more exciting because there was no general knowledge encyclopedia. There were encyclopedias about the movement, but not about just general knowledge. So that was really exciting at that time with Wikipedia. And with Duolingo, I see much of the same spirit. Like a lot of what I felt when I was founding Wikipedia, it feels like history repeating itself now with Duolingo, except the fact with Duolingo is that it'll actually be for people that are not currently in the Esperanto community. It's people who are interested in learning it, which makes it possibly even more exciting. So I think this could be one of the biggest projects in the history of Esperanto. I hate to not sound modest in that sense, but from what I've seen from like looking at other courses, like I when I compare it to um, like, well, for one thing, I compare it to Ukrainian because that was we started creating the course at the same time, and last I checked, I think they had about say 3 times less the number of people signed up to get notified when it came out, and Ukrainian is quite a large language.
Yeah, of
Well,
course.
not a large one, but it's a considerable one, of course. And also, I put Esperanto more on the level of Irish, and Irish is past the 200,000 user mark a couple months ago, and I'm pretty sure that by the end of this year, that at least 200,000 people will have started learning Esperanto via Duolingo. And if I want to do something for Esperanto, I can't think of anything that I could do that would have more impact than that.
200,000 people.
Right. So right now there's 15,000 people signed up just to be notified.
Right.
And I mean, once it's launched, obviously there's, I mean, the media hears about it, and you're getting one of those rare pre-launch interviews, actually.
Oh, yeah, here we go. The listeners on the Actual Fluency podcast are very privileged in this aspect. Also, thank you for talking about behind the scenes, because I know that, it's not always easy to talk about how things are behind the scenes, but it's very interesting to hear about.
Oh, you're welcome.
Do you think that it's gonna? I mean, 200,000 people. It's not. I know it's you pulled that number out of the air, but do you think that the course could potentially create some kind of Esperanto renaissance in the sense that I know the popularity of Esperanto hasn't exactly been declining, but do you think it could spark something sort of really unexpected, and it would really hit some kind of mainstream level that we haven't seen before?
I think pretty much anything is possible. I mean, even the Berlin Wall, no one saw coming down the week before. So, but also if you think about it, I think the biggest thing it has going for it is the fact that it should raise the reputation a lot for the language, because it's a very reputable place to go and learn a language. And I mean, Wikipedia did that a lot too, but even then, the average non-Esperanto speaker can't really see the benefit of it, because they just see that, oh, this article is also translated to Esperanto. Okay, that's cool.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, also when you're thinking about a language community that's, I would guess, around 1 million people, when you get 200,000 people suddenly starting to learn it, it's a hefty amount of people.
Yeah.
So I really don't know where it could go, and I mean, even looking into the text to speech thing, if this might cause a company to make an Esperanto text to speech, it's another side effect that would be really helpful for us. So there's just many things that could happen.
So we could see next year. Next year we could see 50,000 people at the World Congress. We could see the Rosetta Stone Esperanto. And
possibly.
We could see. We could probably see a lot more youth organizations pop up, or just regional
I mean,
organizations.
I heard recently from a big language company, I can't say which one, that they're planning this summer to release an Esperanto course. So it's something to be excited about there.
That's interesting. They didn't ask you to voice it or produce it or anything?
I helped a bit, but
okay. So
I can't go into details, unfortunately.
Right.
So,
DNA
but
and everything.
it's actually funny with the Universal Congresses, because it stopped growing, not because the community stopped growing, but because it's just really hard to get a location for more than 5,000 people.
Who would have known?
Right. Because like people see that, like, oh, why don't the Esperanto Congresses grow? But then when you see like the organizational side of it, and just try to find a venue for 5,000 people that's not, say, a stadium.
Yeah.
Or even stadiums hold, I don't know, 50,000 people. That's a stadium. That's not a conference environment.
You couldn't put 50,000 people on the pitch, right?
Right, exactly.
I wouldn't hope so anyway, but I guess you can go to Vegas. There are a lot of conference centers in Vegas that host huge conferences.
I mean, there's these big conference centers everywhere, but I think most cities have the largest conference center around 5,000 or
Right.
even 2,000.
And then you have the problem of accommodation as well, because even if
Right.
you could find a building large enough, you'd still need to have hotels or hostels be able to fit people just in a vicinity of maybe 50 kilometers. It couldn't be
Right.
outside the country or anything.
Absolutely.
It's interesting. So Polyglot Gathering in 5 years' time, what are you gonna do when you hit that 5,000?
I'm not sure we want to. I mean, I know another organization called well, it's an iPhone developer conference called 360 iDev, that they actually consider 360 to be the ideal number of participants in a conference, because
Right.
with 360 you have enough people that you've got quite a lot of depth and lots of topics, and you've got few enough people that you keep running into the same people again and again. Because
Right.
also I've heard of people who go to, say, the Universal Congreso, and I mean, if it's their first time, that can be really intimidating to be, especially if you don't speak Esperanto that well yet, to be in a group of 2,000 people, for example. It's just, you can imagine.
Singing the songs and waving the flags. No, but it's an interesting discussion anyway, because the less people there are, the more you can sort of dive into topics.
Right.
You can get to know people more. I mean, I had trouble at the last gathering meeting everyone. There just
Right.
wasn't enough time. Of course, you tend to stick to people you know. You don't spend all day saying hi to new people, but
Right.
I would generally try to meet people all the time, and I still found, now almost a year later, I find that I talk to people who were there, and I don't even remember seeing them there. So it's even with 200, it's very difficult to talk to everyone.
Right.
So if you have like 300 and 360, maybe that's a good core. But on the other hand, wouldn't it be kind of sad if, let's say, 500 people wanted to go?
Mhm. Well, I mean, you can also have more than just have them more often.
Right.
So, I mean, that's a possibility.
Gathering
There's
one
always
and two.
there's always ways to scale things. And, I mean, you already have the gathering and the conference,
Right.
so we're excited about the Polyglot conference coming up in New York City in October as well.
Are you
Uh,
going?
We're going, yeah.
Oh, you
And
lucky.
we'll be happy to be casual participants there.
Right.
Maybe speaking, but it's a whole different level than being one of the head
Oh
organizers.
yeah, for sure. I
So,
mean, you were so busy last time. I remember seeing you never had a quiet moment.
right.
Just showing up at whatever time in the morning, looking like you hadn't slept, and probably because you hadn't.
Right.
It was a really intense experience.
It's too easy to stay up till, say, 3 a.m. talking with polyglots, and then
Yeah.
realize, oh, it's 9. I need to get up and set up that projector in the room.
Right.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Well, Chuck, it's been an absolute pleasure as usual to hear about the gathering and the inner workings of Duolingo. Should we just remind people of the important links here before we go? If you go to polyglotberlin.com, register immediately. Just don't even think about it. Just register and hope that you get a spot. And the crowdfund for the high quality videos, go to Indiegogo and search for Polyglot Gathering, and you can spend as little as €10 and you get early access to the high quality videos made by professionals ish. They're very good.
Well, people working at students at a film school do very good work.
Right,
Obviously.
exactly. And they want to prove themselves, so they might even overperform anyway.
I mean, we're really excited. They came last year to shoot footage for a polyglot documentary already, so they're already really excited about languages. So we're not just talking about some group we found on the street that wants to
Right.
shoot our video.
No, it's going to be great, and I think it's a good cause. And I think the budget is 2,700 is required, and if you don't reach that, everything will be lost. So
That's right.
please go and support the cause. And
Right now we're just over 2,000.
right, so it seems like we're going to make it.
With your help.
I already put my German. What are they? Are they red Euro notes in there. So I hope that other people will follow suit. But
thank you very much for that.
well, you're welcome. Thank you so much for organizing everything, and I look forward to coming back to Berlin.
Great, we look forward to having you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Actual Fluency Podcast. If you would like to get more out of the podcast, check out the VIP Club by going to actualfluency.com/VIP.